In progress.
Okay, we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the October CB2 Executive Committee meeting. I'm Susan, Chair of CB2, and we do have a quorum. So let's get started. First on the agenda, approval of the September Executive Committee minutes. Is there a motion? Approved. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any abstentions, recusals, nay, or no votes? Okay, thank you. Okay, Chair's report. I am not going to give a report. I'm going to turn my time over to Keen. She wants to present this resolution. I will speak about it afterwards. But it was something she felt very strongly about, and the concept is something that we may want to discuss at a future date, which is why I am allowing her this time to do it. So Keen, why don't you go ahead?
Guess I'm going
Why don't you just sit at the table, or here?
Thank you. This really comes out of two things. One of them is that as a developmental psychologist, it's very clear to me that to communicate well, you have to be in person. That if we have to be in person, we board members, that the people who talk to us should come in person, unless they have special reasons why they can't. Which of course we always would make exceptions. We don't want to take people out of their sick bed or anything like that, but that it's not fair and it's not a good use of our time. And it's not even a good use of their time to communicate unless they come in person and say with all their faces, with all their gestures, with all their, yes, I really mean it, with all the stuff that you can do in person that you cannot do on Zoom. And also, of course, Zoom, even the audio is distorted and there is time delay. So it really, as a communicator, we need in-person communication. And also as somebody who's got a lot of respect for all the board members, we all, but including you all, are very impressive people once you start knowing about the people. For us to have our time spent trying to figure out what these people are trying to say takes away from really our mandated legal job, which is to respect the community, listen to the community, be this intermediary. And of course, as you know, we're only advisory. In order to give good advice, you need to be in person. So I drafted this resolution. I'm happy to take amendments. I'm happy to hear what Susan would say, because I talked to Susan about it. So
Okay,
that's it.
thank you. When Keen presented this to me, I thought about it. I sought advice of counsel. And I have to tell you that, and I explained this to her, what Keen is asking us to do based on her language is unenforceable. It is not a legal course of action because it is setting up different categories of people. It is not asking to eliminate hybrid. It is setting up different categories of people. And that is something that we cannot do under the open meetings law. In addition, while we have the qualifying disability exception that we pass as a resolution, hybrid is something that's in our bylaws. So if you were to eventually get rid of it, you would have to go through a bylaws revision process. But the key thing, again, is the fact that you are setting up different classes of people and allowing some of them to access the virtual option and not allowing others. So even if people were to support this, I cannot allow it to be enforced as is. If you wanted, I'm bringing this up so to introduce a possible discussion at a future time of whether or not we want to continue with hybrid. It does offer certain positives, but it also offers real negatives. And now that we've lived with it a few months, it may be something that we want to talk about. So that was my incentive for allowing her to do this.
Right, and you see, I revised this based on what you said. This is a revised. version.
Right, but you see, the trouble is that you are requiring members of the public and represented officials to be of the same rules as board members, but they're not in the same category as board members. Board members are governed by you're still setting up different categories of people.
Right, well, I mean, they should be an arc.
And if you wanted to get rid of the hybrid, what you would have to do is you would have to first have a motion to abolish the hybrid. And we'd have to go through the process that's set out in our bylaws. So if anybody wants to discuss, I'm just really doing this so that if anybody, to encourage everybody to think about the idea, whether or not we want to retain hybrid, and if so, I will put it on the agenda for a future, just a discussion at next month's meeting or whenever we have time.
Just second whereas,
Mhm.
the clarification. Where it says we're required to attend meetings in person, it's actually need a physical quorum, and then anybody is able to attend remotely. We don't actually have to be here. That's only if you're gonna qualify for quorum. It's a very slight clarification, but the point is, if there is a hybrid option and you meet all the requirements, anybody can participate in the hybrid fashion.
Right.
And that's been the issue of getting quorum at the meetings, because if everybody thinks they do not need to be there.
Right.
Because other people are gonna meet the quorum. And that's sort of, I see that as one of the weaknesses.
You know, the feedback that I've gotten is that, well, that would, technically, as long as you had a majority physically present, plus the qualifying disabilities people, you would have a legitimate official meeting. However, the presumption is that everybody who is able to, who does not have one of those, fall into one of those, is still expected to be in person. So if somebody were to actually get on and say, you know, I'm not sick and I don't have a disability, I'm just really tired, the weather's lousy, so I wanted to be online, I would actually have to mark that person absent.
But they're not.
No, their vote doesn't count because they do not fall into one of these two categories. Based on the guidance I have been given, we can discuss that nuance further, but that is what I have been told. Right.
The point that and this is something that's very important though, once you have a physical quorum, the meeting is good. You participate. I'm not sure you have to be present because.
We've been counting those votes, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Have been the guidance, what guidance were you given? Were you given
The guidance I was given was that, everything that you just said. And then to Carter's question, the law allows a person who has, it's extraordinary circumstances. But most boards, could we discuss this among the district managers? Most boards have a process or a person who has to say your extraordinary circumstances qualify. So it's not self-authenticated.
Unlike the qualifying disability.
Well, yes. But that's a blanket thing for either permanently or for a defined period of time.
Right.
So Kurt is correct that once you've been determined to have an extraordinary circumstance and the quorum exists without you.
Right,
And
that's what I'm agreeing with that, is that anybody has an extraordinary circumstance. Once you've met quorum, would participate, absolutely. I'm saying is that people do not have the option to simply choose the remote, or participating remotely, if they do not have an extraordinary circumstance or a qualifying disability.
Correct, and the only thing I'm adding to that is that most boards have a person.
Okay.
That determines whether your extraordinary circumstance is truly extraordinary.
I can get further clarified. We can ask that question again. Yes.
We're doing attendance, we are noting if someone is remote and if they're not. So what we could do is I'm not saying whether we should have hybrid or not, but if we have hybrid, we could just keep it clean. If there's somebody who's always remote, they're just never showing up, and in which case that could be a conversation. So I'm just saying, we are just letting you know, we're tracking it.
Okay, that's all, actually, that's great, because that is all we need to know now, and I don't want to get off of the topic. Is there any?
I want to just address the question of hybrid. I think that the thing that COVID showed us was that Zoom had definite drawbacks, but we saw enormous increase in participation. I would love it if we could continue having a Zoom and have certain marked periods where we meet person free, especially as a team, board, it is collegial to be able to see each other in person. But there are certain advantages to Zoom, and as miserable as I think hybrid experience actually is because of the technical drawbacks, I think it's an advantage. I'm torn because at the same time, I think that, I hate to say this, being able to participate remotely, wonderful to hear from our elected. Sometimes it's very useful to us, and sometimes I'm sorry to say, but we are an audience for their spin, or their stuff, or their showing off, and it's very easy for them to do that because they can do it remote. There's no effort. And so I kind of love the idea of making it because I think it's a lot harder.
That's the trouble, is that it would be good if we were able to treat them as a different category of people and enforce it, and that's one of the problems that we have. But anyway.
So.
Okay, very good.
I just wanted to lay this out.
Okay, as I said, I will take you, I know you.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna,
You decide to.
Okay,
going off what Susan said, I agree about having the ability for people to participate. But it is a problem with this dual class thing, because if we could limit participation virtually to like certain time limits, whatever, that would greatly improve efficiency, which I think is the big problem here. But I mean, access is a big thing. Like, just as an instance for myself, like I would have loved to attend the meeting last night on land use, but like I have to leave work early to come to these, and like that doesn't mean I care any less about the issue, but like I couldn't take off work early another day, right? So if I'd had a Zoom option, I could have done that.
that's
So
true.
like having the ability in certain cases to do that does increase access.
We appreciate it. Absolutely. But as I said, if we want to talk about the pluses and minuses, that's a discussion that I will put on the agenda for a future
I want
meeting.
to point out one thing right now about 3 different. We're having in-person meetings.
Right.
We're having all the people who are virtually combined, because there's a whole chat section that's happening and nobody in this room. And that's the problem.
But we should display that.
But I'm just saying that I have a problem with hybrid because it happens.
Yeah, it does.
And you can't see who's
It does.
participating, you can't see. all the
And I would then really need somebody to basically monitor the, whoever you can.
Chat?
No, well, we could.
But can we show the chat versus the attendees?
That's a whole other.
Well, we're not even showing and you can only showing the panelists.
I think,
David, that's my point.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so many.
True.
So
I think when we started doing these virtual meetings, didn't we basically establish the chat's not really part of the meeting? Like, I think we set that as a rule at one point. Like the chat's not part of public comment technically. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And of course,
It's not a.
Yeah,
it's different when everybody is on and they're all able to look at it. You have different levels of access depending on whether people are in person or not, and they have a laptop or not.
yeah.
I will tell you that, speaking of efficiency, Valerie came up, we have an excellent form that we're going to ask all of our speakers,
We have
the reps.
The Google form.
A Google
good.
form, and we've set time limits on people, hoping that they would be brief and succinct. Obviously, my prayers were not heard. So we're now going to try to enforce a time limit.
We also know, we know who's gonna report on Zoom, who's gonna report in person. Is it the principal? Is it the rep? And we'll just it'll just be easier for us to manage that because it's usually who do we see, and it's notes passed back and forth. And so hopefully that just streamlines it for everyone. And to Susanna's point about, it's very noticeable when someone's reporting from home, to Keen's point, they'll just go on because they're sitting at home, they're already there, versus in person tends to be a little shorter.
Yes.
You can read the room.
You can read
Yeah.
the room. Exactly, so we're hoping.
That's really become a bottleneck point in our
Yeah.
meetings is the.
I could not hear the rep. I missed a lot of.
Yeah,
So
well, that is why I think ultimately part of this discussion has to include an evaluation of whether we can be consistent. Our technical ability is sufficient to offer, a minimum quality every single month. If we don't feel we can do that, then the responsible thing may be to do is to give up the hybrid until at least we could either get, improve the situation or, the rules change for us one way or the other.
So, I mean, we only have this until July, right?
Right now, that is true.
Like, this is not a permanent thing, the hybrid from the open meeting standpoint. But is it my understanding that this was initially, that Kim was initially going to ask for all board members to be in person?
She never talked, the
Okay.
board member, no, what she did was she always wanted, this was really about how Bob, it was the reps
Okay.
specifically.
Okay, thank you.
So that was it. If there's nothing else on that, we will move forward.
I should have asked this before. We can arrange this to only people who have their cameras on, are on the screen, or how would you like it?
I do have to ask everybody who's a member of the committee to please keep your camera on.
Which is actually on, it's just.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, okay.
Everyone else who's in the room, they can now.
Yeah, it is a requirement of attendance. And I will say that going forward, starting next month, if people do not have their cameras on substantially all of the meeting, we're going to start marking them absent. Of course, people turn them off occasionally. Of course, people have technical issues, but it is a requirement that you be seen as well as heard. If you have this option, you still have to comply. So that's what we're going to do starting next month anyway. And with that, you can have it. Do you have a report?
In view of how long this meeting may run, I'm simply going to say thank you for your participation and encourage all the committee chairs. We are still striving to get the board package out on the website tomorrow night. So anything you can do to get me your report. Some have already come in, and thank you for that. And that's my report. Thanks.
Okay, great. Okay, calendar. November, let's see, I know that I spoke to Chenault so that there is going to be a 2 landmarks meetings. I've got one. Fortunately, since SLA is in person, I can do a second landmarks landmarks meeting on the Wednesday of the 8th. I had to add that. Otherwise, is there any other issues with regards to November?
In the land use.
Oh, land use, thank you. Is it possible?
Yes, here, hello, I was
Katie, yes,
hoping.
I saw you, and then.
Yeah, I just had to, I'm just coming back on screen. Just give me a second.
No problem.
I was hoping that we would have land use on our regularly scheduled night of the 8th. We are supposed to meet on the second Wednesday. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. What happens is, of course, because in November, we have to move the full board up a week, it throws everything out of whack. And because landmarks does have to, I spoke to Chenault earlier, he cannot get everything done in one meeting that is so close to full board. So he had to have a second night in the previous week, and that's how I got to that.
I have managed to get my picture totally off. How do I, should I just go out and come back?
Do you want us to? We
the
can
wrong
keep talking. We can keep talking. I mean, I don't.
Okay, then afterwards, okay.
If you
I
have a
have-
technical issue, let's keep talking.
Resolve the issue and then you can.
So it's land use.
Okay,
Katie, land use really depends on when DCP can come. So you need to get them to come because we have the city of Yes is being heard in a few days. And if we're gonna handle this the way we handle our land use items, we spread it out over 2 meetings with the public presentation from DCP as well as public testimony. And then what we've traditionally been doing is the second part of the 60 days, we have the committee meeting where we conduct the fuller business session and go over a draft reso. The city of Yes is a pretty complicated presentation, so this is really important that DCP can come. I don't know if we've reached out to our DCP reps with respect to that.
Now, I'm assuming that you're not going to have another reso that you'll need to vote on in full board.
No, that's what I mentioned.
So what I'm saying to you is that you do have an option of using, like, say, the 20th, which is the Monday before Thanksgiving. The reason we move it up a week versus move it earlier in the week is a concern over quorum. And that it would jeopardize all of our resolutions. But if you think that you can if you don't worry about quorum, or you want to get it on the calendar sooner versus later, you may want to consider like the 20th.
I think we need a quorum for a public hearing, and that's our official public hearing.
Okay, that's gonna be, then you would.
So,
I think the most important thing is to figure out when DCP can come, because if the 20th is work puts on our calendar and they can't come, it's.
Right, that's, okay, what we have to do, then talking about putting this on the calendar is premature. You have to.
well, it's not, because it's one of the most important dates for this major rezoning. I mean,
It's
excuse me,
important, but it can't be scheduled without DCP.
No, we can't put it off, meaning it has to be.
It may be, or it could be the 15th, if you don't have a resolution, it could be the day before. The point is that we will work on that. We will get that scheduled as soon as, we'll just have to figure something out.
Can I just be reminded of where the calendar is? There have been so many links today. Were we sent the draft calendar, Mark?
Yeah, if she looks up, an email from Mark at, I have it as yesterday at 10:48 p.m.
Okay, yesterday. Okay, thank you.
At 10:48 p.m. from Mark Diller.
Okay, no problem. I got my picture back. Yay.
Yay.
Do we have a deadline to comment on that? We're talking about the housing one?
No,
Presumably,
this
or
is our economic.
the housing is next spring. I think we'll be able to.
We have a preview of it.
Yeah.
Economic.
Yeah.
Do we have a hard deadline on that?
Yeah, it's 60 days after.
That's better.
Okay, what we will do is you'll have to work on figuring out a date for November for them to show up. And then we will work on the calendar.
Okay, that sounds great.
That's otherwise. Okay, and with regards to December, Donna, yes, I'm sorry.
Like to change CLC to the 8th from the 9th.
Okay. Okay,
From the 8th to the 9th?
I thought.
November.
We've already got 2 meetings on that day, though.
Yeah, we have 2.
Wait a minute, I guess I could switch those 2. Yes, if I gave you the Wednesday, then I can do the landmarks on Thursday, which is what Chenault wanted in the first place. You got it. Okay. That's done.
So who was that? Who was that who was
the-
asking you to go on to the 8th?
Right.
Couldn't figure that out.
The 8th, cannabis needs 2
Okay,
meetings
fine.
because of the
That's right.
volume.
Yeah.
So, and
Okay.
landmarks will now go back to the 9th, which is what Chenault originally asked me for. And we will work this out.
Then I guess if Amy needs the 8th, and we find out soon, I can look at moving SLA 1.
Mhm,
Can't move SLA 2.
Okay,
But the church will need to know, everybody needs to.
I mean, I do also want to point out to you that Election Day is not a federal holiday and it is not prohibited for us from holding a meeting on that day. Huh? But it is a city, not listed, it's not listed in our bylaws as a day that we can't hold meetings. That's what I looked at.
I don't think it's a great day for me.
No, I know it's not. I'm just trying to create days out of that are not.
I mean, it's
I'm sorry.
20th, 27th and 29th.
Yeah,
And those are.
No, it is not. Correct, they are a training site, but not a whole site.
So it's open. That maybe.
okay.
So Susan, if the focus on any of the committees that need meetings or if they have a reso that's voted on at full board, so parks and committees, I don't know what their agendas are, I'm just pointing out that all the other ones
Right.
have items.
Have to,
heard.
right.
So I'm just pointing that out as far as,
Okay. Okay, well, we will definitely consider that one. Okay, let's just, December, the one thing I want to bring up is Donna pointed out that, you know, you've got a long holiday weekend because Christmas falls on the 25th, is a Monday. And do we want to move up the full board? Now, the option, we could move it up a day to the Wednesday. Or we could cut exec and do it on the Tuesday. So what do people think of that?
Yes.
Okay, which yes,
The 19th.
the 19th, okay. Okay. If I have anything to say, I'll email it to you. Yes. Oh, yeah, okay, gladly.
Attendance of 0.
I just want to reassure you, Susan,
Yeah,
that the last time this happened in 2017, we had the full board on the 16th, and we had full board on December 21st. But I, for one, couldn't even go. I was traveling that day, so I don't know what attendance was like. So I very much support your moving it because I just think it's a recipe for
we
disaster.
can't risk, we have to have quorum. Everybody's work, you know, the resolutions don't count otherwise. I can't risk it. So I would much rather sacrifice executive.
I think it would be an
Move it up.
interesting experiment to sacrifice that. What we lose, so I'm not, I think it'll be interesting.
You know,
it's our setup for the rest of next year.
yeah, it's, look, not just that.
Not that.
But for December, we were, with the plan is now to have full board on Tuesday, the 19th.
Yeah.
Okay,
I was checking in the past over the last 7 years and we've never had a quorum issue for Christmas, and it's always close.
okay. All I know is there's a lot of travel, all I know is,
Decision, let's go on.
yeah, all I know is we have a lot of travelers in this group, so
That's the thing too, with work being remote, that changes a lot of people.
people, yeah, okay.
Sorry, but something hard to trigger the thought, we only have 60 days from the time in which city of yes for with the
Economic, yeah,
is, and if that's certified during the month of October, which is what we're being told, that 60 days could run out before December full board, which means that our only chance to adopt a full board resolution on November. So when Katie and Eugene reach out to DCP and then schedule a land use meeting about it, it might be sensible to either find out when it's gonna be certified or, because it'll be certified at a meeting.
right,
Or, get them to come to a land use meeting like the day before the board, that has to be, right?
okay.
That doesn't affect our December full
If
board.
they don't certify it in the next 4 days, we're good.
Right, right.
Okay.
Okay, that's the
If they
one
don't
thing.
certify in the next 4 days, we're good, and I don't think they're.
Okay, well, we will be on top of that because that is our most time sensitive thing right now to deal with. Okay, now that we've done the easy stuff, now we get to the budget priorities. Okay. Or I really should do the committee reports. But that's okay, what did you want to say?
I think we have a lot of work to do on the budget priority requests. I think it would be nice to be able to do that before we get to the committee reports.
Okay.
If we need to cut the time, we can certainly cut some to the committee report, but we don't want to shortchange.
I got it.
our attention items.
Fair enough. Okay, we're going to do, that's very reasonable. Let's do the budget priorities. And we start with the capital. And I don't know. Where do we begin?
As this nice one page.
Yeah, fortunately, I hope everybody had a chance. There are copies, if you don't have them, of a one pager that lists everything that we've received of each committee that has sent us priorities. And right. Wait a minute. This is that, and this is.
Mark Diller, no, Mark Diller. Diller email from 5:56.
I guess what we're really trying to do now is rank, we have all of these lists from each committee. The question is, how do we combine them into a single list? Correct?
Yes.
And how many does the, Mark, how many does the computer take, the system take for capital and expense?
25 and 40,
Okay,
but we submitted 41 last year and it didn't seem to object.
yeah. Or you just put this check.
We don't have, I guess we have, do we have last year's to start with?
That's this one?
Oh, so,
It's this one handout?
oh, okay. Well, that's our tops.
Yeah, these are the top three. We don't have the full list.
Excuse me for interrupting.
Mhm.
In the past, Valerie has had a fabulous system of putting things up on a screen and moving them around. Is that something you're not going to do this year?
No, we are. We have it.
I have it, I just logged in.
So the sharing screen thing? that we're gonna
Yes,
see?
yes.
Okay, thanks so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment? Because I'd actually like to get some feedback maybe from Mark in the room as well. So I mean, we had one of our, one request as a capital request last year, which was sort of a weird, if you read the wording of it, it was a weird sort of almost mix of a capital and expense request, where we basically said, oh, we need to make sure we're continuing to fund a study and or actual resiliency projects along the west side. My view is because now, as of now, all we have is this wall proposal, which everyone is against. I don't see how we can like ask to fund capital projects along the west side until we have a study where we get a better view, which we've been asking for, of the conditions on the ground, redesign ideas, stuff like that, all of which we don't really have.
Right.
So that's why I sort of just took it out and left it in expense.
You don't have.
I don't know if like
Nobody.
have a better view, but for me, it's like, if we're calling for capital for the west side right now, what do we want them to do?
A capital project, so that
design that people-
your list,
There's not a design, I think, right now that people really agree with.
right? So you just don't have a capital
Okay.
project, that's
We
nothing.
had it kind of under capital and expense last time, so I thought it was more efficient.
I mean, if you look at it, we don't have,
Add something to the expense request for the.
like, for example, landmarks has expense and not a capital.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, let's see.
And land use, there are land use things, there's one land use for capital, which is 2 Howard, is just. What?
Okay, Katie, did you send us your priorities?
It's ready. I think that Eugene can send it in a few minutes.
Okay.
It's ready.
One capital, right? And the other three were.
It's the same,
expense?
it's capital, it's the same as last year with a little rewording, it's the 2 Howard Street. We've reworded it.
Okay,
thanks to
I don't
Janine.
need all the wording. I just need to know that it's
Yeah.
to Howard and
Yeah.
I'll put it on,
Yeah.
I'll write it in. That's fine.
Super.
I know.
Thank
I
you.
know.
Thank you.
You want some water or something to start?
Yeah. Thank you.
Can you mute? Who's in charge? Who's in charge?
No, can I get the vegetable gyoza and the chicken?
Tikka masala?
Yeah.
I'll come back. Nice dinner, Rich. You may want to mute yourself. I can.
No, should be back.
We should, whoever, who's
Okay.
on this side, you can mute him,
I'm just asking him if you can enjoy the.
Oh, now he's muted, forget it.
But now you'll have to unmute it.
Huh.
I think I can do it over here.
Okay.
Sure.
The actual responses of the.
They're on Google Drive.
There's a PDF of them and then there's also you put them in.
But we're doing capital now.
Yeah.
So capital is a $50,000 project. Is that what the qualifies as capital?
$50,000 and a useful life of 5 or more years.
There you go.
I have a question. So one of the things that is a high priority for our committee, and I think would argue for our community overall, is an intensive mobile treatment team to address serious mental illness. And I put it on a list of expenses, it's like $1.5 million, but it's not, you're not building a building. So I don't know what. It's still an expense.
It's still actually,
Like from an accounting perspective. Oh, I'm not a good accountant, but I don't know that it's an expense, that's fine.
yeah, vehicles, whatever they are normally expensive.
Actually, yeah, I don't even know if it's a vehicle. It's definitely a team of staff, and so it's.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I'm looking at capitals.
Okay, and
And we need to just, as a board, discuss what we think are priorities.
right, right. So it's a question of, I guess,
There's human services as one item for capital, then
Not put that at the top of our community board.
we have parks and waterfront. Just gonna put them in the order that's on. And street activities don't have any capital, then we had schools and ed. With their items that you can see listed. Well. And then traffic. Oh, the landmarks had expenses, so no capital, and then traffic, so it's really these 4 columns
right.
of items.
And 5, because you, 2, Howard, you didn't.
You do,
They're sending.
you have a capital for land use.
Oh, I see, I don't, that's not this.
Right, that's, yeah, that'll do it to Howard. That's good enough.
Is Shirley on?
No, Shirley is, oh, wait a minute, I think she's recovering from COVID.
Oh,
But I think she's, yeah, I know. I think she said she was going to try to be on, but she's not logged in.
There's some feedback in red, I don't know if it came through on. Here, or there's comments, it's black on here, for the 2 of them.
I'm just wondering if the 1 and 2 can be combined, because one's they're just basically 2 streets right next to each other, one goes east and one goes west.
So have it as repair.
And
bike lanes, but
my mistake, Shirley said she is not gonna be able to be online.
But also one may be a part of building the street after they complete that huge construction project.
which is the first one?
Yeah, because Clarkson from west to Greenwich is where they're building the 570 West Street, whatever it's called.
Whatever, the north part of what was.
Yes, St. John's, yeah.
550.
So,
I'm just wondering, because if that's the case, do we want to use up that spot?
for Clarkson,
Well, it's a bike lane, it's still a bike lane.
which one are you talking about?
No, it's reconstructing Clarkson Street.
Oh,
Mhm.
so this is the agency response. It says bike path enhancement requests will be reviewed as part of the federally funded bicycle network program. We are totally confused because this was a recommendation from DOT's own Hudson Square West Village study, and DOT had assured that this would be constructed and finished in 2022. Because of new techniques, also what is the federal bike network development program? So,
We not just made it, developer is gonna be reconstructing that street.
That's the open question.
But we're not gonna be able to answer that tonight, so just put it in, keep it in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's two separate items. So I'm just gonna move both of those over and then we can talk about.
Well, it's interesting because our third one combines Bond Street and Worcester Street into one.
But no bicycle lane.
You're right.
Not part of the,
Oh, you're right, the bicycle lane, got it, okay.
so move all three, move. One of them,
We can still advocate that Bleecker Schools remains number one, because that option expires December 31st.
I would be.
I agree with that myself.
Agree to that.
Okay.
Will this be submitted in time?
This isn't gonna impact it,
No,
no.
no, but that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
No, I mean.
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah,
done, it's done.
It's a political document. People are gonna say, what are your top 5 or top 3, and they're gonna look at it.
No, but I'm saying December will have already passed.
It doesn't matter. It's a political, this is a political document. And if you're relying on this to get anything done, good luck. It's not doing, it's not doing anything. Yeah, we should just keep that in mind as we're discussing. The real value of this is to state our values.
It's our values.
Right, but the political decision will already be made before we enter this into the city system.
So. This.
They could extend it.
That's true. How serious we are, and it might be, and it's, if they could extend it, how they'll move on it that way. So let's not cut it off.
What would this alternative?
Right, I'm saying this doesn't get entered in.
Don't think we should be focused on the logistics of when it gets entered into a computer that like somebody who's like 15 levels down from the commissioner of any agency. I think we should devote our time to deciding what our priorities are. I would agree that I think the Bleecker Street School is the number one capital priority for. Toss that one out.
so so we can either continue going through schools. And we're choosing to add those or not. We talked through the traffic one, but there was no movement as do we want to move those.
We should have top 5 first.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Why was a rec?
So-
I don't know. What
I assume we want 2 Howard on there.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just move that to.
Rich is asking.
Rich,
why-
Rich, go ahead.
Rich, you talk.
Unmute yourself.
No, you have to.
Oh, we have to unmute. Don't look at me. I have nothing to You do it.
I got that.
He's asking why was the rec center dropped, and I'm not familiar enough with where it was put.
So there's something that's kind of confusing, and I'm glad that Rich brought that up because the rec center was on the expenses list, it wasn't on the capital list. So I don't know if that was a list that was given to me, so I can I think that.
Be capital. It's.
Yeah, it was it was top of the capital list. Yeah, it was capital. It was top of our capital list.
Although the request and expense is allocate funds to determine if a renovation is
That's
doing or not.
That would be an expense.
Yeah.
An evaluation is an expense, but the actual work would be capital.
Why do we put in, I mean, I think that Tony Dapp is a big capital
Well,
request. If this is a political document.
It's very scary, but they talk about the money they've allocated.
$80 million and it would still look shitty. It just wouldn't fall down.
Right.
So I'm not sure I support. No, I'm just saying that we're trying to talk about, our values. I don't know. All right.
No, but you do have two separate things there.
Rich, how was it worded? Was it?
I have it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have
Yeah,
it was just on a different list, so let me just add it.
we explained, there's an explanation behind it.
Yeah, there is. On your document. You want me to read this?
Sure.
Our community requires and deserves a recreation center and an outdoor pool. The Tony Dapp years and is expected to remain in this state for at least a couple more years. We are no longer confident that the building will be able to be repaired or that doing so is worth doing for the cost that will be required. This is right. Yes, I thought that's what.
Are we moving this to capital or are we keeping it on?
What is the capital one? So his request is
This is it.
allocate funds to determine if the renovation of the rec center is worth doing, and if not, create a plan for building an alternative center in our community.
That's the expense. The expense is the evaluation and developing a plan. If you're allocating money to actually
To build
to
it?
do the facility or to renovate the facility, that would be a capital expense. But you're not doing that. You're talking about,
Yeah, let's go with yours. That's a good idea. I think we have a better chance of getting expense money. Let's
Yeah.
give it a shot.
yeah, I think so.
I would hate to support personally spending money on that building. No, I'm just, we could also ask for capital money for a rec center, whether a new one or, a renovate, you know what I mean? Like, we could state that way.
Well, I think, I mean, it's
Disrepair, is that the issue?
It's a 110-year-old building and,
It's very scary how they don't ask that as a threshold question, whether or not what they're attempting to do in terms of a renovation is even a viable thing.
everything they're doing is just so the walls don't fall down.
Yeah.
But if you went in there, it would still look the same.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the parks one.
Okay.
So we have allocate funds to repair the playground pathway between the field and playground and courts at JJ Walker Park.
yeah, that was our number 2, becomes number 1.
That's number 1. And then Elizabeth Street Garden, allocate funds for the permanent preservation. And then 3 issues at LaGuardia Garden with ponding.
That's farther down.
And then there were 2 notes about, and this was on both budgets, about the visioning process of passive recreation space at 3-8 Hudson starts this fall, and then the note about the annual request for planting of street trees and improved and expanded tree pits in our neighborhood is not on our list because we are aware of council member Watcher's funding.
That's right. Yeah, but Eric Scott as part of the urban forest plan.
So
I would love to see JJ Walker improved. And I'd also like to keep Elizabeth Street Garden high on the list. It's in the same situation as it was last year, which is in litigation. It's at the third, the most highest court in New York.
Well, it's on appeal. It's litigation, but I don't know. How do you feel about
On
that?
the list. I mean, we used to, it was one of our top priorities for the board overall. I don't know that that's the case this year, but been on our list and it's a capital project, so it's been a bit, yeah.
Okay,
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
okay.
They ignored it last year. They can ignore it again.
Yeah, and I just want to throw out for LaGuardia Corner Gardens, like if you own an apartment building, the apartment building is responsible for the sidewalk.
Mhm.
And this is NYU on land. Should we be pushing this repair to NYU? How does that-
I had this on the expense list. I'm not sure why it's on capital.
Okay, so move this to expense.
Okay.
I think it's just a small thing
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so there's really.
That is an expense. Yeah, that's not.
Which
thank you.
raises a question, oh, sorry. It looks to me like many of our schools requests, I wonder, are they are they capital projects if they are small, technology improvements?
Technology counts as capital.
It does count.
And the borough president and the city council members, these are big things that they often fund with their,
So
like as a.
So we want to show them up. We want to.
Fine. Yeah, the technology things are probably the highest probability of getting funded with discretionary.
So
Not
minus,
agency money.
so minus LaGuardia Garden, which I will move to the expenses, I think that leaves us with 14 items total that are on this list. So if it's just a matter of putting them on here and reordering them, or if we want to still continue whether or not we want to add them.
Add to them. I think we keep all 14.
Yep.
So we have one is Beaker, two is to Howard.
Excuse me, I know it's a little awkward with the hybrid. We did pass a resolution in July asking for 3 floors of a rec center. So if we leave that off our capital expense, it kind of takes the teeth out of our reso.
388 Hudson, she's saying.
Yes, at 388
Yeah.
Hudson. Mhm.
I think it would be good to put that in there.
Yeah, actually,
Sorry?
you're right.
High up.
You're absolutely right. We just don't have to link it to Dapolito.
Yeah.
No, it has nothing to do with Dapolito. It just has to do with what we asked for in that reso.
Yeah.
That's all.
So even though we don't have the language for it, I'm sure that we can get that together pretty quick.
Okay, that makes sense.
And
And I
then,
think that should be pretty close to the top.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I would
Yeah.
put that above JJ Walker.
Yep.
Yes. I would
Yes.
agree.
Sorry to interrupt like that.
So do we need to come up as a group with a priority list, top to
Yeah.
bottom?
Yeah,
Yeah, because we were decided we're gonna put
Right.
these all on there, then let's just reorder them.
right.
Okay, I'm gonna put it out there that I'd still like to see Elizabeth Street Garden in the top 5.
It's not the passive part, it's the active part.
Okay,
Oh, okay, it's just, so is that different from?
There's two portions of that property, of that address,
Northern part.
right? The passive part is being taken care of on the southern part, but we're talking about the new rec center on the northern part.
It's not
The new-
actually, it's not actually a recreation space, it's a housing space. We're asking for, we've been asking for recreation space in what will be housing. City-owned recreation space in the northern part.
Affordable housing.
right.
A full service rec center.
In the language, I'm not gonna type it.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah.
Fine.
We know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, we can always play with the language as long as we know what we're talking about.
Okay,
So Bleecker Street School, 2 Howard, 3 Hudson, TK on what we're gonna.
Right,
call
right,
it,
right, right.
Space. Then more parks, do you want human services, school, and then the traffic items, that's what we have left.
I would put the human services request down. I mean,
mhm.
it's just support that God's love would love to have.
They get support from other places too.
Well, I mean, no, it's not really a question of their fundraising, but they do have city contracts.
Right.
So, they always could use this and they'd like us to support that and I would like to do that.
Right.
Okay. So Bleecker School, 2 Howard, 38 Hudson. Northern Parcel Rec Space, JJ Walker, Elizabeth Street Garden. LaGuardia Garden is moving to the other one.
I mean, do we feel, I'm looking, Patricia, at all your school requests. I mean, I sort of feel, I mean, how high up should those be? I wonder if like they should all be sort of together and just saying, I don't know.
I would want the technology to be in the top 10. For those schools that are requesting.
Okay,
We do know that there's a good, since there's a good chance of actually
great.
responding to that, it would make sense to keep it in the top 10.
This is being the one for Harvey Milk, right?
In tech, for a whole bunch of technology.
Just, yeah,
For 3 different schools.
right,
3 different high schools.
yeah, put them together.
Can I just ask a question about the drainage, which we expense, is that because it's no require physical improvement, it's below
very
some
expensive.
threshold that would qualify it as a capital project?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Teresa and the Parks representatives thought it could be fixed without going through a capital process.
Okay.
Um,
So we're in on the expense side, we have one calling for more green infrastructure, which would include permanent improvement, rain gardens, et
A
cetera.
lot of these,
Some of those individual projects, I guess, falls below the threshold. That was
right, and it,
it's physical improvement.
it's also, how, in this case, they're defining it. It's not like there's an absolute standard of what's
Sure.
capital every time and with, it depends on how it's processed. But
Thing.
Yeah.
But let me ask the question to Will's point. If the requests were improved, what are the terms we're talking about? Streetscape, what would the?
Green infrastructure, rain
Green
gardens.
The district, that would be.
Well, because I have that under.
That would be.
Maybe we should move that to capital.
What if you
So for
lumped it
instance-
together and
Yeah.
what if you lumped it together and it's not just street projects, it's out the
Yeah.
district? I think that's the capital.
Like this, the city of Yes zoning, which we already passed, the one for resiliency, does allow now tree pits to be, you can install a rain garden instead of a tree pit now in front of your building.
Right.
Construction, for instance. And so, okay, I mean, yeah, maybe we move
I
that to
would-
capital.
I mean.
We can do that.
But I think that.
It doesn't have to be in the top 5.
Okay. Well, the closer something fits into another program that's out there, another goal, I think it may have more, there'd be more receptiveness to it because it fits into somebody else's plan. So if you have that it works with it, it's like people will pay attention to it.
I think also if you were going to re-examine the district for these kinds of green infrastructure improvements, you wouldn't do it piecemeal. You would do it.
No,
for
that's true.
big slot.
You would do it as a district.
That would be.
That's like that. Okay.
If you just want to put that, I can send you wording, because I might want to tweak the what I had on the expense. You just put green infrastructure.
Be the office.
Yeah. We'll get out a list and everybody can look at the language before we actually vote on it. So
Dig in half.
that's a lifetime for some of us.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 school items and 3 traffic items.
I would just maybe do them every other. I mean. Sprinkle them about.
Uh-huh.
I love that you're doing this. So cool. So cute.
Is this on? Does anyone know where this is? This is like a legit.
It's true.
Yes.
So it doesn't show the jump.
No.
Sorry. But those are lower. So in terms
But we have another program that inserts junkies.
I had a photo
Rated is a newer version.
from
Katie has a question.
Katie, go ahead.
I just want to say that the granite strip on Morton Street is something that we've been requesting for a very long time, and to prevent a horrible epidemic of bikes on the sidewalk on Morton Street. They go up instead of going on the street because of the cobbles. And so I don't know, it's been there probably since 2017 or might be 2015. So I don't want to lose it because it's really important to the people in this area.
Okay.
Suzanne, is it okay if we move the green infrastructure above the van?
No, the van is an expense.
Oh,
The gondola division, yeah,
we can just move.
that's fine. I think it's a big,
little kind of.
yeah, it's also.
Of course, now the bikes are on the sidewalks everywhere, so.
I know, but one less street.
Yeah, I will say, yeah, as a bike rider, I'm happy. Everybody can get off those troubles, especially when big holes.
Okay, so I think,
Are we done?
I think we're done with that.
Ooh, awesome.
Oh,
I'm putting that in my.
Okay.
No, so it's-
Ask one question, allocating funds for the preservation of Elizabeth Street Garden. At this
Mhm.
point, given that it's in the courts, what would it actually mean to allocate the funds? How would the funds save
I
Elizabeth?
actually have a tweak on the language because it's not, I mean, it would, if there's a win in court, it would be a political decision.
Right.
And
I mean, how would our asking for allocating funds affect the preservation?
it just sets it apart. So I would suggest that it say, allocate funds for permanent preservation of, get rid of the, because it's not like you don't say the Central Park in its entirety, and transfer jurisdiction from DCAF to DPR. Because it's not owned by, it's owned by the city, and it's under, jurisdiction would be, go from one agent. And I did confirm it's still held by DPR.
I don't know that that is good enough for us to put it in such a prominent position at this point. I feel that it's still a very important issue in our community, but I don't understand how our allocating funds is going to affect the future of that.
Actually, I'm gonna say nothing on this list is gonna affect the future. It's gonna be what we do with this list in terms of advocacy and resolutions and meeting with elected officials and so forth. So this is
And you feel that the door is still open for that?
yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. So that's our capital list, right?
hey.
Okay.
Mark, do I give you text edits or is it someone else?
Yeah, I'm happy to receive them.
Yeah, because we're not gonna wanna make the edits to the Trello. The edits we're gonna wanna make to the Word documents that we have, and so. Really, the Trello is just for the order. So I'll make a, I'll,
So, okay,
I'll,
this just draw.
I will, well, no, I'll just number them. I'll just number them in the Word documents.
Okay.
Yes, sound good? Yeah.
So
And then move accordingly.
on the expense side, if I could just advocate for this West Side study one, I mean, it was previously a top 5 on capital. I think if we're moving to expense.
I think it's very
I
important.
just want to continue to emphasize that the community is not happy with the Army Corps come out with, can you find an alternative that's gonna cost money? We need to learn more information about what the options are based on the conditions that exist there.
I think we should put this way there.
So which one is this? This is the number one that you have?
And everybody's in denial.
That's the ongoing problem.
And we can ask the city.
Imagine that
The
people.
city could still fund this study.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the point is, I don't think this is powerful enough to accomplish what you're trying to.
It's certainly not, but it's the
Yeah.
first step of like 100. So, I mean, again,
The city has some say over, the city places people on the board of Hudson River Park,
They won't talk about it.
so,
It's Washington.
yeah. But the city can still influence them. They appoint people to the board.
But it's the
Yes.
resiliency is not through the park. The park is a watch through park.
Yeah.
you guys were talking about
Will be
priorities.
included in the study, okay?
Resiliency is a huge priority, and every year we try to figure out a way to put it in. Yeah, for this reason, because the west side we're unable to get.
Okay.
Can I add?
But they could partially fund the study working with the other groups, if you're right, if you could get them to agree to do it.
Right, because the thing is, it's through the Bond Act, we state that would come from. Template, which is what people have floated.
So Steve.
Yeah. But
Want to say something?
The city were to, for instance, fund the study and come up with, a better sense of the conditions on the ground and some design ideas, then they could influence this.
I mean, maybe it's just as simple as,
I agree.
we don't like it, and it's important enough for us to put it at the top of our list. It's just, it is a horrible, the proposal that they presented is a horrible one. And that we simply have to state this because that's what we believe. Not because of any hope that it's going to be acted on, but simply as a matter of principle.
Can I advocate for my causes?
Go ahead.
I would argue that the issues of mental health, substance disorder, and street homelessness is the top priority for CB2.
Yeah, probably.
Different from years past. And way I've expressed it, the way our committee has expressed it, is request for an intensive mobile treatment team, which is a city entity, and a sort of community treatment team, which is a state entity. So I just wanted to advocate for that to buy up.
Yeah.
The other things on our list were.
Well, quality of life. I mean, that's like number one on this list of the survey. So
Where are you?
if you look at the survey sheet,
Oh, I haven't seen that.
number one is quality of life, crime, noise, and number two is crime and public safety.
And I
So, and three is homelessness. So yes, we're looking at, that's where our top
I think that
concerns are.
crisis that we have, think I have at ours. And speaking to Eric Fox, I say with concur, that is the number.
That's what they said, that's what he said today.
I support that being number one.
The mobile treatment units?
Yeah, and then resilience, and resilience.
I don't, resilience doesn't have to be number one.
It could be number three or something, but some of those social, human services, safety issues have got to be right at the
Yeah.
top.
We broke them down into three different agencies, city DOHMH, state Office of Mental Health, and city Department of Homelessness.
Oh, I was wondering what the difference between 1 and 2 were. I now see it's NYS.
Yeah,
Makes
one is,
sense.
right,
Thank you.
ACP is the state entity and an IMT is city. And then the question of increased staff and higher wages is throughout the social service world in the city and the state. There's a terrible problem in creating these teams because the salaries are not competitive with alternatives. And so, yeah, our three top items were those three.
And I think that agents has one of the highest vacancy rates, right, for city agencies.
I don't actually know what vacancy rates are, but I know that everyone that we spoke to when we did that deep dive into serious mental illness said, there's a long waiting list for these intensive teams, and that needs to be eliminated. But there is this ongoing challenge that even if you want to have 10 new teams, it's very hard to staff 10 new teams with the salary levels that we now.
So it sounds like we want to add these other two to the expense budget list.
Yeah.
Is that the consensus here?
But I like the idea of mobile treatment team at the top, because these other ones, because that just sends a message. The priority.
Yeah, and it's a city, and I mean, it's a little complicated because the truth is that mobile teams, wherever they are based, they are following their patients throughout the city, but I think that naming one to this area and certainly asking for one name to this area expresses what our priorities.
Sure. Well, for this.
Oh, yeah.
That came off the.
Mark, I put the comments I gave you in the group of doc.
Yeah, it's just right there.
Yeah. Okay.
Go right ahead.
From what I understand.
Someone's speaking, but we can't hear it. We can't.
You're not close enough.
Hear anything.
I'd like to propose that New York City men's teach in the top 5. From what I understand, it's under schools and education.
Yeah.
Diversity of teaching staff in our district is very low, and that's significantly impacted educational priorities and content. I think, I don't know if you want to step in and talk more about this.
Well, it's number one on this, so I guess it's totally a reasonable thing.
asking for a long time. They.
This has been on the list.
Can you hear me, Angie? Just move. Close. You're talking, you gotta get it.
So the program New York City Men Teach, NYC Men Teach attracts about 250 new male teachers, predominantly of color, every year. There are usually about 600 in the program. We know the stats. We've done tons of resolutions on the fact that, you know, having a teacher from a similar background really benefits particularly Black teachers, not just the Black students and Latino students, but also all students. To have a diversity of staff is great for everybody. And this program really uplifts non-traditional teachers, which particularly now with the influx of asylum-seeking students, I think is just critical for us. So we ask every year, and we want to continue to ask to support this wonderful program. That's all.
Okay, enough said.
Yeah, I agree. It's the best program we've ever seen in education come through in terms of the metrics on it. So.
Okay.
Maybe it
Wow.
could be in the top three.
I think I have it in the top 3 now. You guys can see the screen thing. Yeah.
Okay, we got it.
So we moved all the 3 human services. We have the resiliency one, we have the intense global treatment team is number 1. I've just now finished adding in the land use items. There's 3, and the rest of the schools. I'm just adding the labels. We have some street activity resiliency items besides the one added, and then we've got some parks, and I know there are landmarks ones I haven't added in yet, but we'll do those as we go. And then there's a lot of big ones, so I'm gonna add those, or maybe we just look at those from the document, so we
Let's see what we've got.
can go through, and I'll just put placeholders.
And I also advocate for another school program, well, it's not a program, but it's allocating funds for increasing hiring needs of bilingual and multilingual teachers, counselors, and paraprofessionals in schools that have received more students than previously planned, and will likely continue to receive more. If that could be in the top 10. Thank you.
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So you have it at 6 or 7?
I think there's like 6 or 7.
Okay.
Eric, we have 37, is that the right number? We have 10 things.
Green one.
Oh,
Capital.
so we have fewer than 40.
Yeah.
I think we should go for top 10 and then go pro rata after.
Yeah.
The only other one from my side, which I would like to maybe have in the top 10, is just the sort of generic sanitation one about studying ways to reduce waste on the street and rat and proliferation of rats.
How about just reducing waste and rats? Not even.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty broad one. We can reword it a little bit if you want. Right now, it's saying quality and quantity of trash collection, recycling, pickup schedule, adjustment, rat resistant containers, more frequent collection. That's all kind of in the one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We can play with the wording, but I think that's one that we
Yeah,
have
the
a lot from the
wording-
community about.
Does the wording change it to a capital? Okay.
No.
No, it wouldn't.
It's definitely just, yes.
I mean, we can just say increased pickup along with studies for design of rat resistant, et cetera, but we can play with that.
Okay, there's parks, there's land use, there's schools and ed, and there's traffic and landmarks that I have not added to this yet.
Okay, we haven't, what have we not added from though? We haven't.
We haven't added from land use
Or park?
or park.
Okay, let's look at that.
Or Jacolita.
Yeah.
I
Extends,
actually think that number 3 of land use is very important. Did you have that out, Valerie?
Yes, I have that. I will pull it up. I'm just gonna reduce the size of this one.
That's the rent stabilized block law ones.
That's the one of counting the apartments and the lot board.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna check, if I keep the really long ones really long, we can't see what. So, we all know what's on there. Okay, so we want to move number 3 from land use based on what Katie said. This is a little slow for me, so just give me a second, and then we'll add the Dapalito one. Do you want Dapalito closer to the top?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
One. Okay, so besides land use, are there other ones that while I'm kind of moving these that people want to go through and then start adding those in?
Well, I'm here to advocate for the landmarks funding. It is a repeat. We've requested it before and it's still needed. And so we're well, it's all one really. Sufficient funding for staff and capacity. And so 1 through 4.
Yeah, you just, if you don't have to put the numbers in, if you just put that staff and capacity funding.
Right.
Before the colon, then it will be adequate.
We have it as written, I'm just haven't added.
Okay.
I ran out of. We'll just put it in the landmarks one. But we all know what that represents. Okay, so then there are 2 other land use, there's more parks, there's more schools and ed, and then there's the traffic and transportation ones. So instead of me putting all of the traffic ones, if we want to put all of them, again, we have 37 items, so if there's one in particular we want to move up.
Do we have a top 10 yet?
I think.
Can you clarify what the 2 land use ones are?
Yeah. Well, I won't clarify, I can just read what they are. But if Katie or Eugene want to expand on those.
They were the ones you voted on last night.
Which were the 2 of them?
It was about funding study to see, where they can build more affordable housing on city owned, and another one was a funding another study.
Remember you had suggested about pass or no, that was Cygnus that had suggested.
My recollection of last night was that we were going to combine our first 2 expense items into one.
So we did have that, but then I think someone raised the point that they go to different agencies, and so that's.
Okay.
Can't do that.
So do we want the word underutilized to be in both, in which, if they go to 2 different agencies, because that was kind of a good modifier.
The first one should say NYC DCAS Real Estate Department. Is then looking up under DCAS, the DCAS Real Estate Department. Who oversees that, then take out the DCAS.
Take out HPD?
No, the other reference to DCAS. So instead of 3, it's 2.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have 9 items.
And then, so.
So to me, we're moving the first one since we edited it.
Yeah.
I kind of want to get to my thing of editing it in Trello, but that's fine. There, I'll put it over. Okay.
What was the 3rd one then?
Ask New York City Department of City Planning for the appropriate agency to allocate funds for a study. Well, I moved the first and 3rd one, so is that wrong?
No, well, I'm just trying to figure out what the 3 are. You guys keep referring to them, but I still don't know.
Do you have the paper?
It's not on the paper.
It's not on the paper.
That's why I asked.
And how did I get these?
We had them last night.
But, well, I didn't really hear Valerie's question.
I was just talking to myself. I'm like, where did I get these from? They're in a Google document because I didn't type these.
Were these,
So I know you have up number 3, right? So
They're on-
when, once a loft becomes rent stabilized, it is no longer under the law. It is under rent stabilization. So the loft board would have nothing to do with it.
They're on ADOC.
That's just more my point.
So to answer my existential question, I copied these from a document called Committee's Combined Expense Budget Priorities FY 2025. So that's where those are. Maybe they're not on a printed. I did not type these out.
I'm just saying, for number 3, the loft board has nothing
and you
to
took
do
it from the
with
drive?
the citywide data.
Wait,
We're taking out the loft board. What's
The loft board, once an apartment becomes rent stabilized, a loft becomes rent stabilized, it leaves the jurisdiction of the
Okay.
loft board. And it's no longer listed.
Okay. So I think that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 items.
Okay,
So
is there anything that we've left that it's really, somebody really wants to advocate?
I haven't put Zappolito on here.
Oh, okay.
We have 11. I mean, that's gonna be in the top.
I think so.
Why this is.
Yeah, I think it sends a message, yeah.
Uh-huh.
We're here to send a message. Right?
And
So that all.
That's what we're about, right? Sending messages.
is there anything that we have corrected from past years on the responses that we asked the wrong people? Did anybody review this stuff? Because that's where a lot of our stuff gets kicked out, right? 'Cause we
Yeah, you're right.
Send it to the wrong.
Yeah.
So it's really
Good point.
important, and that's why I was bringing up for these little details. They just tell us, we don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
So we need to get them to the right.
Right.
The extent that these were priorities last year.
Yeah.
In the Google Drive, there is a version that has the comments from the agency to which they were referred.
Right.
So we can circle back after this to make sure that we're
Okay,
addressing the right.
good. Okay. So we can we can make those corrections so that when we all look at this together, we will have that. Okay.
So 11.
One of mine are kicked back.
So it's 11 items. It's the order we want. We'll add the rest and just sprinkle them. pro rata.
Yeah.
So 1, intensive mobile treatment, number 1, localized study resiliency. Office of Mental Health, the assertive community treatment team assigned our area, Zappolito. Men teach for schools, increasing bilingual teachers, increase staff and higher wages to allow Goddard Riverside to hire more staff. As part of its work with Manhattan Outreach Consortium. Ask HPD, Department of Finance, OTI, allocate funds for a citywide data set, et cetera, rent stabilized, rent controlled. Ask DCAS real estate and HPD, allocate funds, government owned property. Street activities, DSNY, sanitation issue studies, and then LPC funding.
I would suggest that with 3 land use in the top 11, we move, like, we don't have any transportation in there, so.
Yeah, we have not added any.
Okay.
And all of those are studied, so, I mean,
And I just want to make sure my second one stays in the top 10. It was number 8 last time, and we're changing that to literally fund more rat mitigation. I
Yeah.
think that's an important one to have.
Okay.
It's number 10 right now.
yeah,
This
we
one?
move it on.
Like 6, was it 5?
That was 8 last time.
I think it's 3, but hold
Oh,
on,
no, it's further.
I have to look, it's just a little slow. Okay, so are we good with that? Do we want to add something from traffic? We'll just need to look off the list because they don't have those as cards.
Right.
Traffic is the Petrosino Square is the first one, so I would put that in the top 10. And
So men teach is number 5 for whoever would
Yeah.
ask. Yeah.
There's 2 human services.
maybe move Dapolito 3. Or, yeah.
So
With the survey, those were the top issues for sure.
Those are the, yeah, there were 2 in there because the survey reflects what came back.
Okay.
I don't know how. I mean, I think a lot of young people.
It is. Okay, let's let's first deal with the traffic one and.
The first traffic one on Shirley's list is Petrosino Square.
I mean, I would think in the top 5, it's like, doesn't make that much difference.
Yeah, I think transportation.
Like if it's in the top 5, it's really super. I mean, I don't know for sure how they look at it.
It's when you meet with an elected official and
Yeah.
this is the top 5 priority, the top 10 priority, and this is why it's important.
Right.
I want you to do something.
Okay,
With
anything else?
with respect to the landmarks, staff funding, I can't see the details of that, but is that something relevant to, CB2 or just citywide?
It's citywide, but we have a lot of landmark districts.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
It's a really long one, so I just put it in the folder, but it's the 3 items in one that are on the Google Drive committee's combined expense budget priorities. Anything else from traffic we want to add? I think this is 12.
Oh, I do like extending the 6th Avenue bike lane. That's an easy one. I mean, you just paint it.
The protected bike lane number 2.
It's easy for you or me with having.
The 6th Avenue. Yeah, I mean, the fact that they didn't just do this the first time, it's a death ride.
It is, it really is, it really is.
At least they extended it in Midtown a couple years ago. Remember there was.
I don't bike Midtown.
I bike 6th Avenue to Midtown for work. It's very,
Death ride.
very harrowing. Yeah, it's very.
Do you wear a helmet?
I do wear, them, of course.
It's a public meeting, of course you're gonna say.
Good man, good man.
Kidding, I'm just kidding.
Rich offered wording, for the, rec center question. Which I could share.
I can send to her, either way.
All right, you want to send it to Valerie?
And the office. And the office.
Yeah, tomorrow.
And the office.
First, in July this year, Community Board 2 passed a resolution asking the new proposed affordable housing at 388 included New York City Parks Rec Center at least 3 floors at the base of the blueprint. Our capital request is to deliver on this resolution. Our related request, which may be an expense rather than a capital, is allocate funds to determine if the renovation of Tony Dapp is worth doing, and if not, create a plan for all building alternatives. Can you send that to you? I'll send it to you.
I have the document open and I can, if you text it to me, I can put it in the document.
That would be great.
The problem combining the 2 together is there's not enough space for 388 to replace the services that are offered in them.
You know, there to be a one more exchange.
Well, they aren't combined. There's 2 related.
Why is it not advocating for Dapolito to be rebuilt or renovated? Why are we trying to move that to 388 where we need more? I'm a little behind, I'm just asking.
Yeah, well, it's, I wouldn't replace housing, first of all. It would be on the ground.
There's gonna be something in the base.
But I agree that they don't, I mean, first of all, we could have 2 centers. There's an insatiable need for recreational space, but I mean,
Part of the problem is that we need an evaluation whether or not renovating Dapolito, no matter how much money you put into it, make it an actual functioning, reliable facility. It's so old and it's so structurally unsound that it's like, it's become a money pit no matter how much you put into it. you're still not gonna get a working facility that's reliable. And so at some point, the money that gets put into it, it's like. If
We
you
don't
can't-
know, I mean, that's
We don't
whatever,
know.
we don't know,
Well,
but I mean, I think that
But
it's.
if you're
fair to
right,
have-
that's exactly right. We need, that's why we need an evaluation, because the last meeting I was at, they talked about how much money they had allocated, and nobody started even broach the subject. Should we even be considering this to begin with?
Well, also they were
Yes,
allocated
it
because they opened up and they found more damage than they expected to find there. They did come to us at one point with a sort of grand master plan, but who knows where that's going.
It's a larger, because if this question keeps persisting at the board, it's gonna become a landmarks issue. It's gonna be the entire ethos of Greenwich Village, because they're gonna knock down our landmark space.
Yeah, we're not even going there.
No, but I'm just opening up, but just to Mara's point is, what's the deal? Why can't they get it going?
Is it
And-
outside of the outside of the?
It's not landmark, it's in a landmark district.
No, it is, Janine, it has a 2.5-page designation.
Put it in the
report.
chat.
Okay.
Is it only around?
It's incredibly important to the South Village Historic District. History is about that. So. it's not just-
Janine is right, I think.
No, that's right.
It's relevant question.
If we keep it, I mean, I just don't want it to turn into luxury housing, sorry.
We're all with you.
I don't think that we need to get so into the weeds about what specific, we're asking for a rec center. That Tony Dopp is falling apart, so give us a rec center. Fix it or replace it or something, but I mean, that's a pretty general request and they can figure out how best to spend the money with us, I mean, but, right?
Okay, so rec center, but not attached to 388.
That's a different,
They're two bits.
Where we're gonna be. Okay, totally separate.
I believe that's.
Right?
Just make it two different.
Everything's saved.
Okay.
And the Dapolito one is an expense and the 388 Hudson is capital.
That's right. Two different things. That's right. We decided that earlier in the meeting.
It's an expense today.
Both of them are very complicated. I mean, putting 3 at 388 is going to make it a taller building and arguably, and people are going to fight that. But the truth is the point we're trying to make here is that the neighborhood hasn't had a rec center for many years, let alone a career. And we got to figure out what to do. It's going to be more years. It's going to be at least 2 years, probably longer.
Entire childhood lost.
And meanwhile. And meanwhile, the city council just passed a bill that children in second grade don't swear.
This one, I think that's great. Yeah, they need a place.
By the way, if you look, and,
Yeah.
one of the biggest.
That's true.
Money there in the Park Avenue.
Everyone should know.
Wait, great.
Up against-
Steve, and we'll just add the rest in intermittently.
Yes,
This is the 13.
yes.
In this order, I will put the numbers, 1, 2, 3, I will reorder what's in the docs. If Mark is still here, I will just create 2 new clean versions, so we keep, yeah, and I will, yeah, so I will do that.
Okay.
And then there's one more thing to do, right?
Um,
The top 3.
oh, the top 3, well,
Of, in totality?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Normally it's 3, so you can't take 2 capital and 2 expense and call it a day.
It has to be all,
it's
If
3.
you all do that,
Oh.
all in capital, but it's only 3.
okay,
Wow.
so.
Oh, I thought it was 3.
Is that that's a new thing?
I thought it was 3.
It's like, it's what they put in the DCP. Yeah.
It's how their website. So that's the one sheet I gave you with last year's.
Yes,
Um,
oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
The differences in the survey this year and talking about
Mm-hmm.
homelessness or public safety.
So I have these on 2 different.
I think definitely one of Susanna's top 3 should be top 3.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of health service, safety, quality of life in that, definitely.
I would do, I'm just gonna throw out, I would do Susanna's mobile van. And Lister and either resiliency or to Howard. But resiliency may be a sooner action.
So the top,
But it's also like maybe less under our control.
Yeah, maybe to Howard.
Is there a way we can work on the resiliency a little more and specifically target it someplace better?
Yeah, I would love to do
You know,
that.
like figure out who we can put them to make that
Stop.
city.
I think it's probably I forget the name of the person, but there's like sort of a resiliency czar, right, that Adams appointed.
Right.
I don't know if this is,
You gotta skew it.
I don't know if this is a way to get to them, but
could Robin Forrest answer this question for us? In the mayor's office?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I know, so like, who can you ask?
Yeah, that's a good possibility. It's worth certainly trying.
I mean, can we put on there someone though that's not an agency?
That's what I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know who these.
Yeah, we could put the whatever the mayor's office is.
We, as a community, we can't have any conversations about resiliency until we figure out who
We're talking to.
talk to. And that's what very frustrating.
Yeah.
So you two are gonna work on new language for that.
It's tough because they keep changing the structure within the city and as you said earlier, Carter, no one seems to want to take responsibility. I mean, I know this Rit Agarwal, who's the head of DEP, has been sort of in the weeds on this stuff. But maybe we can include someone else from one of the mayor's offices that we.
Mayor's Office of Resilience.
Yeah, maybe we can add DEP plus mayor's office of resilience.
So climate and environment.
But
Can we only put one agency, Mark, or is it's?
and can we put a mayor's office as an agency?
Yeah, can we?
You certainly can put a mayor's office. Generally speaking, it's a drop-down menu for the agency. But the narrative statement can add you can make references to other agencies. But I would still take my best shot at what you think the agency is.
Mayor's Office of Resiliency, kind of.
Is that gonna be listed as an agency?
I mean, why don't we just say in there that the city needs to appoint, the city needs to break through kind of the smorgasbord of people who've been looking at this and just appoint person.
It would be key, because
Yeah.
I think more Mark's
Yeah.
saying, because that's the infrastructure.
Yeah, right. That's Rit Agarwal, who does know this issue.
And the city's infrastructure runs
Yeah.
underneath it
Yeah.
to
And-
the water.
And I know he's been the one who's probably been the most kind of engaged in this stuff. It is
The
Rit.
mayor's office still implements its policy through the agency that they oversee.
Right.
So if you get to the bar, that bar is going to send the memo to.
To the DEP.
But you can put that in the narrative.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so the top 5 that
I can talk to Carter. That's my turn.
So the top 5 we have for capital, I'm gonna go over the top 5 we have for expense, and then I think out of there we get the top 3, right?
Yeah.
So Bleecker School, 2 Howard, 3 to 8 Hudson Recreation Space, which now there's new text for that I will add in. JJ Walker and funding technology for 3 high schools. Those are the top 5 capital budget items. The top 5 expense is one we've already allocated to number 1 for the top 3, which is the intensive mobile treatment team. Then the resiliency, new language TK, the New York State Assertive Community Treatment Team assigned to our area, Dapolito, there's longer text, just shortened for here. And then number 5 on expense, which is allocating funds for Men Teach. So we have 2 more slots for the top 3.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I thought
Those are our top 5. We have 2 slots available.
Top 3 overall that kind of go on the cover page. Mobile van, the mobile intensive mobile treatment.
I would put Bleecker School.
So assuming we want Bleecker School at number 2, so that's mobile van, mobile treatment van, and the intensive mobile treatment van, Bleecker School, and we need a third. Dr. Lito, men teach. Assertive community treatment team from the state.
Daniels, really, it's
2 Howard.
number 3.
Maybe 2 Howard, yeah.
2 Howard is number 3.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm okay.
So we have the mobile treatment van, Bleecker School, and 2 Howard as our top 3
Overall.
overall.
It's, there's a couple different ones. There's one called MoCAG, Office of Climate and Environmental Justice.
Oh, I know.
And then the new head of that went last month, has a lot of experience in coastal resiliency.
I know.
So it's still a little bit of a
Okay.
unclear who's like, where the buck stops.
So are those the 3?
I think we've got it.
I just don't have them on the screen.
More comment on those choices.
I think it's phenomenal you've done that.
Comment when we're walking out the door.
All right, so then it's all agreed that the rest will be allocated because we have under 40.
Yeah.
And we'll just do it one every other committee. Like that. Great, all right,
Valerie, you're phenomenal.
thanks.
Thank you, thank you.
Very helpful.
And
Great job. man.
So everyone going twice on comments on what we've just done? Okay, we're done.
Done.
Can I make a request for the standing committees that we only get reports and really have to share them? Yeah.
Well, I think that should be a general general rule, so
I can take everyone's.
So if there's anybody who has something that they want to say, I'm not even gonna go ahead and call out the committees. Who has something, a report that they really want to give to any of our committees, something that's beyond what would be in their reports,
Or anything that's gonna be. super-
or something that we have to worry about. Then there's nothing,
No, I have my hand up, Susan.
reports, anything you particularly want to bring to
Katie
our
has-
attention. I'm sorry, Katie.
I should probably say that we now have, I think, 71 applications for cannabis.
In CB2,
In CB2.
Yeah,
not counting the illegal ones.
I'm doing my best to get rid of them. We're having 2 meetings, one October 30th, one November 8th, and maybe another in November. But notices have slowed down. And I think we're over the hump, although OTM has just extended the application period by 2 weeks. So we may see them further into January than we originally expected. But it'll be fun.
It'll be a real high. Okay, Katie, what do you have to say?
I just want to say for land use, we had a very intense meeting last night. Thank you for all the community board members who weren't in the committee who attended and supported. That was wonderful. And I don't think we're going to have a tough time at the full board, which, you know, is very, I'm very thankful that I don't think we're going to have a tough time. So just 388 Hudson is an intense issue, and there are lots of, you know, times ahead, but I think we're managing it to a very good extent. So I just want everyone to be, you know, calm about Thursday.
Okay, good, great.
Okay.
Well, anybody else who's online have something that they want to share? Okay, we're done with.
Well, I'm just wondering how I'm going to put this into the minutes, since we didn't actually get reports.
Well, no report from that committee, no report out, that's it.
All right.
Chairs do not have to provide a report if there isn't something that they particularly want to bring to our attention. If everything ran as expected and you can read it in their report, there's no point in doing this. I mean, that's what we were talking about with our reps from elected, is that we don't want to hear an extra report on top of what they've actually produced in writing. Thank you, everyone, for setting a standard.
I think it's really, I mean, I like to say, I think it's really important that we have this brain trust of us and our time, and that it would be great for this time to not push issues to a later meeting, but that they're actually addressed in the room with this group, instead of just going over someone's entire meetings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what this should be about. Quick question, is there any other new business? Okay, then I move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thanks.
20.
Second.
Maybe we can rename exec committee CB2 brain trust.
Or not. But-
Yeah. Yeah, that's a real resume builder. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Somebody with the silver ring.
Ooh.
I just found it with my chair.
It looks a whole lot like. Gosh, someone's gonna be, there'll be some hell to pay for somebody, right?
What I was gonna look for is there's a marking